Today we're going to talk about jump starting a car. How many of you guys have ever run into a dead battery in your car? Left the lights on, played the radio too long. Did you manage to start your car without damaging anything? That would be the question of the day. I've known a lot of people over time that have not done it correctly, and when they don't do it correctly, there's a lot of damage that goes on, and sometimes the damage that goes on really hurts a lot of electronics, and sometimes it get quite expensive afterwards. So the electronics, the most expensive one that I had was a Mercedes one time. They jump started. A neighbor figured he would do his neighbor a favor by jump starting his car, and thereafter his Mercedes wouldn't start. It wound up costing over $3,000 to get his car fixed because he burnt out the computer as a result of it. So jump starting a car correctly. So did you guys, I know Russ, you're waving your hand. You had success jump starting your car?
Oh yeah, it happens all the time. I've been a mechanic for 35 years, so I've done lots of jump starting. So I remember the first time I did it though was my sister's car, and I blew up her battery because I crossed the wires when I was 15.
Mm-hmm. Lessons learned, exactly. Those are the things that that we don't want to do. But jump starting a car, there's really only a couple simple things you got to think about when you're jump starting your car. First off, you got to have a good set of jumper cables. Without a good set of jumper cables, it's very difficult to start your car. If you go down to the Walmart or the local pawn shop and buy the quick $5 set that the cables are about as skinny as your little finger, they don't work very well. So the heavier cables work well. That's why the tow truck drivers always have really heavy cables. Okay. So first thing you want to do before you start jump starting your car is you want to position your cars. You want to get them close enough to each other so you can connect the cables to them, but you don't want them close enough so they touch each other. If they touch each other, there is a probability of getting electricity between the two vehicles, and or if one starts and inadvertently being in gear, runs into the other one, does some damage in there. Okay? So make sure your cars are close in proximity that the cables will actually meet, but not close enough so that they touch. First thing you want to do is connect your cables on there. You are going to start, and this is the important part, there's a correct series to start and hook up your cables. You want to start with your red cables first. The red cables are the positive ones. The positive one on the dead car is where you want to go first. The one that doesn't want to start, hook up the red cable to that one. Then the next step we're going to do is we're going to go over to the live vehicle. And the live vehicle should also have a positive terminal on the battery indicated with a plus sign. Sometimes they're painted red, sometimes they have a red cover on them. Just be aware that it is the positive one you're hooking it up to. Otherwise, as Russ found out in his early years, if you mix them up, it could be a little bit fatal for one of the two batteries that are out there. Okay, so hook that one up directly to the battery. When you put the cables on to rock them back and forth a little bit to make sure they get a good contact on the connector. Sometimes the connector is a little fuzzy green and blue and black. So you need to get through there and get a good connection. Connection number 3 is going to the ground terminal or the negative terminal of the battery on the live vehicle, the car that is running. This is the important one to put the ground cable onto. As close to the battery as possible, on the battery if possible, or in the case of some batteries where they're put in the trunks or underneath the windshield as this one is, they should have a lug somewhere in there that you can actually hook up the cable to. The last connection that you want to go to is now on the dead vehicle. The dead vehicle should not have this connection anywhere near the battery. If you do hook up this one near the battery and you generate a spark because something was left on, maybe the key was left on by accident, or maybe the electrical energy from the live car because you left it running is going through the cables to try and charge the new battery or the dead battery, it will create a spark. And in that case, that's the point in time where the batteries tend to go kaboom. Because as the battery is charging up, batteries always give up hydrogen gas, and that is very explosive. So this cable needs to be put on a place on the engine on something metal. You look at this picture here, just to the right of the cable, that's a plastic housing. I see many people try and jump start on plastic. It doesn't work. It does not conduct electricity. It must be metal, preferably a metal piece on the engine. A lot of times the exhaust manifold are very close to the starter if possible, works well. Yeah. Next up, try and start the car. Do not have the live vehicle running at this point in time. Leave the live vehicle off. Try and start the dead car. If the dead car will not start, turn the key off, make sure the key is in the off position, go back to your live vehicle and start up the live vehicle and let it run. With the jumper cables attached to both vehicles, the car that is now running will charge the battery in the dead vehicle, putting what they call a surplus charge on the battery, making it function again. Okay. So we're going to let it run for approximately 3 to 5 minutes. Turn off the live vehicle, make sure it's turned off, go back to your dead vehicle and attempt to start it once again. If it starts, success, we can start to disassemble our cables. If it doesn't start, go turn the key off again, go back to the live vehicle, let it run for 5 to 10 minutes, let it run a little bit longer, see if we can get some charge in that battery to get it to start. Once the time has expired, make sure you turn off the live vehicle. Always remember, never try and jump start a vehicle with a live running vehicle. Okay, turn it off, go back to the dead one, try and start it again. This time it's going to start for you, or if not, well, then you may have to call a tow truck to come get your car taken away. If it does start, the next sequence of events needs to be exactly backwards of how you hooked up all the cables. Okay, so the very last one you hooked up was the ground on your dead car. So take the ground cable off of that one. And if the car continues to run, this is fantastic because it means that the charging system is working at that point in time and the car will stay running. If the car decides to die immediately, hook up that cable again, start the car again and let it run for about 5 minutes or so to get some charge in the battery. That way the car will continue running. If it continues to die as soon as you take the cable off, even after 5 or 10 minutes, you probably still have a charging system problem, which means you're probably still going to have to get it towed to the repair shop. But disconnect the cables the exact backwards sequence to what you hook them up in, starting with the dead, or what used to be the dead vehicle, take the ground off, go back to your live vehicle, take the ground off, then take the positive one off the live vehicle and take the positive one off the former dead vehicle. Okay. Close the hood and you're now almost on your way. If your charging system is working properly, if you have a meter on there, you should see somewhere around 13 to 14 volts. You should not have a check engine light on the dash of your car. The little red battery light should be out and your car should be running. Okay. Close the hood, make sure you put your cables away, store them, and your job is done. The car running by itself will wind up charging the battery up again for you. But as in the case of this battery, which looks like it's been serviced a few times, there's all sorts of paint all over the terminals to seal them. You still may want to go get your battery serviced and get the system tested. Or tell your kids not to play the radio so long and turn the lights out before they left. All right. Okay.
So,
mini booster.
so your theory behind not starting from a running engine, that's to protect the ECU in that running car, is that correct?
That's correct, yes, because if the dead car starts while that one's running, the charging system is going to do what they call a voltage spike. It wants to charge full field instantly, and it could ramp up the voltage going back to the live vehicle, killing or taking out electronics. Has happened many times with fuel-injected vehicles.
Yeah, I know in my trade, we have some 24-volt vehicles as well. We've had some issues with people jump starting 12 volts from a 24-volt system and blowing up the ECU as well.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't stand for that very long.
No, you're correct. And some tow truck drivers have 42-volt starting systems on their trucks, on the tow trucks, and they don't know how to use them correctly. They've done a lot of damage to cars as well because the voltage systems don't coincide. But 24-volt system starting at 12-volt starts real fast if it goes quick.
Oh, it cranks like a hot damn, but it won't fire.
Not for long. Yeah. Any other questions about jump starting vehicles? Does this make sense for you, Amita?
Well, yeah, I think it does because right now I've been trying to, buy a car. So I think it's a good information to start with when knowing about the cars and everything. Thank you for that. It was a really good presentation.
You're welcome. Yeah. And yeah, just jump starting cars. Everybody back in the day when we were young, nobody had money for brand new batteries or brand new cars. So it wasn't uncommon for a lot of us to jump start cars on a daily basis or push start cars as we used to be able to with manual transmissions.
And you always had to sit with the stereo going because that was cool. So
And you had to have at least a 200-watt amp going too to make it pump a little bit.
yes, from your Craig Power Play cassette deck, right?
Oh, you had the luxury version. I was still an 8-track.
Amita has no idea what we're talking about.
Not a clue.
No.
That's because we're really old.
No, we're really dating ourselves now, like we do with our students all the time. We always date ourselves. Wow.
Yep.
That's good. And also because I haven't been long here in Canada. I just came in 2019. So I'm just learning the culture and people here.
Mhm.
Well, welcome, and I hope things are going well for you.
Thank you. And yeah, it's going really good.
You're in a great place for old cars because you're in Langley, weren't you, Amita?
Right now I'm in Delta.
In
Yeah,
Delta.
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were in Langley, but yeah, I was gonna say Langley, you got some of the biggest car shows out there. See lots of cool cars.
Yeah.
Abbotsford too at the Trade X if they're still doing that. They have cool
Mhm.
shows
Yep.
down there.
I've visited there because of my driving test and everything. I have driven there a few times, so I know there's a lot of like auto shops and malls there. A lot of options.
All right. Any other questions on there? Is that
Good from my end.
No,
good from your end? Okay.
all
Anything?
good from my side.
Yeah. Anything you didn't like about the presentation? Was there anything distracting or
No.
too bright, too colorful?
It was very thorough and informative without being confusing. Very
Yeah,
straight.
All right.
very simple and straightforward.
Okay. All right. I will kick everybody out of class then, and we'll see you later.
Okay.
Sure. See you guys in a few
All right.
minutes.
You bet.